Okie dokie. So, welcome to the sniper weapon tier list. So, let's just get into this. So, first things first, we got the sniper rifle. So, what do we do with the sniper rifle? We put it in A tier. Now, the sniper rifle it's not very situation at all. So, it pretty much works in every situation and it just works decently. So, it isn't like superior in a whole bunch of situations or inferior in certain situations. It's really just your very basic stock weapon and it works well in almost every situation, although it's not the best in many situations. Next up, we got the classic. Classic goes straight to F tier. It basically has no upsides, so you really don't gain anything from it. You're able to headshot people while unscoped with it, so you're able to see a little bit more around you, I guess. But the thing is, you're still slow while doing that. So you're very vulnerable to attacks from enemies, and it has a whole bunch of other downsides to go with that as well. So the classic goes straight to F tier. It's basically a meme. Next up, we got the Sydney Sleeper. Sydney Sleeper goes straight to S tier because it's absurdly good. Now, with this tier list, I'm assuming that you have teammates that are competent, which obviously is not the best assumption, but we gotta assume that because certain weapons just don't work otherwise. So with the Sydney Sleeper, all you gotta do is really zoom in and then hit someone, and then they're going to have Jarate on them, which makes it so that if you have a soldier, a heavy, anyone really dealing out any type of crap damage just all over the place, they're just gonna die instantly from just some random rocket that wasn't even meant for them because of the damage vulnerability there, and because there won't be any damage fall off for many types of attacks because of the mini crit. It also charges significantly faster. Body shots oftentimes with sniper are the best thing you can do. You basically just wait around a corner and then you peek the corner for a tenth of a second, shoot someone with a fully charged shot, and then go hide back behind the corner again. And 150 damage can kill many classes or hurt them a lot, and then adding Jarate on top of that, they're basically dead as long as your team is competent. So it's an extremely effective weapon. That's also some of the reasons why it's banned in competitive play. So if you're going in like 6v6, I think it's banned in right now. You can't use the Sydney Sleeper. Not a fair weapon for normal play. Let's put the Machina up. Machina also goes into S tier. This is another weapon that's just blatantly broken. It deals more damage when you're fully charged, so it deals 15% more damage, so you'll hit 173 instead. That's enough to basically insta-kill any low health class, even if they are very overhealed, because they'll be losing a little bit of that the moment the medic breaks the heal beam on them. So they'll be at like, 170, or maybe when your teammates dealt like 6-7 damage to them, they're gonna die in one hit. And then also it will pierce enemies, so if a medic is hiding behind a heavy, you can just kill the medic instantly through the heavy. But mostly it comes down to that damage bonus though. Now it does have the downside of you can't attack without being scoped in with it. So say a soldier bopped you into the air, he like shot the ground beneath you with a rocket, you actually wouldn't be able to shoot him with this because you're not able to shoot while you're not scoped in, and you can't scope in while you're in the air like that. So you'd basically be able to do no damage to him in that situation. And in that situation, another sniper rifle would be better. But generally, if you're in that situation already, you're going to die anyways, and the damage you do probably won't be very significant, although that is a downside. And then the other downside is you fire tracing rounds, so you have this nice large shot to show exactly where you are. Now, with sniper, especially if you're playing competitively, which this weapon is banned in competitive, by the way, if I remember correctly, you'll basically just get 1 or 2 kills and then die, and you'll be looking for those important kills. And then in casual play, people aren't very smart in casual play. We all know that. They're not really gonna look for you too hard, and you can just change positions up a couple times like you should anyway, so you just go and swap positions. Generally, Machina, extremely good weapon, and it also does not require you to rely on your team like the Sydney Sleeper, so that's why I use it as my primary usually. Next up, we got the huntsman. Huntsman will put in A tier. Now, I will say with huntsman, the reason why the huntsman isn't banned in competitive is because they have ping limit. Now, with the huntsman, this weapon would go right up to SS tier, above where we actually even end the tier list here. That would be above our top section here. It would go right up there if you're assuming that your ping is going to be over 150, because the huntsman is actually a broken weapon, and I'm not just saying like it's really good or something. It's actually bugged. So with the way projectiles work that have the attribute that they can do headshot, when your ping gets higher, the head hitbox also gets larger. So if your ping is really high, the head hitbox will basically cover someone's entire body. So basically, all you got to do then is you find like a hallway that they have to come through, and you set your ping really high. You can do this with like the interp command too in like casual servers and all that. And you can just spam shots down that hallway, and your shots will basically all be headshots. Yeah, weapon's broken. It should be fixed, and then it wouldn't be like absurdly good in that situation where you're basically cheating as far as I see it. And so yeah, that's where it's extremely good. But competitive does have ping limits. It's just an A tier item, and that's also why it's not banned. Hitman's Heatmaker. I can't put this guy down in F tier because it's not an F tier weapon. We're gonna put it down in D tier. Now, the Hitman's Heatmaker would actually be the best sniper rifle if you were like a robot. So if you were aimbotting, this would be the absolute best sniper rifle because it can actually fire faster. So it can deal the most DPS when you use its little charge meter after you get a couple headshots off. Generally though, you're not going to be fast enough to be able to get those headshots. It does less damage with a body shot, which is very problematic because oftentimes what it'll do is you headshot a soldier with no charge and then they're down 150 HP. You just want to hit them immediately again with a body shot and finish them off. So that way they're down to 200 HP. With this, you would have to hit another headshot to kill them because it would only deal 40 damage instead. So it's very bad for that. Really, the reason why it would be good for that bot is just because that faster firing speed. Now, with that faster firing speed, you also get a tracing round on you, just like the Machina when you're using your little charge. And so that would be very bad generally. You know, it's not the greatest thing ever to have. And when it's only there part of the time with all the other downsides the Hitman's Heatmaker have, it really makes it a lot worse. And oftentimes you don't need to be spam firing shots. It just isn't a thing that comes up very often. Generally, you're best off peeking corners, like I was saying earlier, with a full shot and then just bodying someone or killing whoever you can instantly and then hiding again. That's just how sniper goes. But if you were aimbotting, this would be good. We got Bizarre Bargain. So we're going to put this down in B tier. Now, Bizarre Bargain is a weapon that is really good if you're pub stomping. If you're pub stomping, the Bizarre Bargain is amazing. You know, you'll right up to SS tier if you're already stomping the enemy team because your shots will charge so much faster after you get a few heads. But any competent enemy team is going to target you, seeing that you're using the Bizarre Bargain and you've already gotten heads collected. So really, it's not useful at all is the thing, because you would already be stomping that team in the situation where it's useful. And in the other times, it's just not useful because it charges slower because you don't have enough heads for it to charge fast enough. So the Bizarre Bargain, you know, it has that situation, but it's not an actually useful weapon is the kind of weird thing. Okay, Jarate. Jarate, we're assuming that your teammates are competent for this. So I have to put Jarate in S tier. Now, generally, I will not use Jarate because your teammates are not competent. But if you are throwing Jarate and you hit good 4 people with it on the enemy team and they're all down, you know, your soldiers are going to do amazing. Your Demoman are going to do amazing. Your heavies are going to do amazing because there isn't damage fall off on them anymore when mini crits are applied to them. Plus, you can use it to track down spies and then douse yourself if you're on fire or your teammates on fire. So it's an extremely useful item. The thing is, your teammates will generally not be competent, so what you'll get out of it mostly would be, oh, I hit 1 enemy with Jarate or 2 enemies, and you actually can't take the benefits from that because with your sniper rifle, you can already get a critical hit, a guaranteed one, by headshotting them, and with your melee, especially in casual play, you have a 60% chance to random crit on your melee if you've done 800 damage in the past 20 seconds. Very easy to do as a sniper. You can just get a couple headshots in for that, and that's done real quick. Very easy. So generally, you wouldn't want to throw this at an enemy before you run at them with your melee if you have to. So really, it's a team player item, kind of like how the buff banner is, and your team has to be good for you to really want to use Darwin's Danger Shield. Okay, we're gonna put this item down in D tier. The Darwin's Danger Shield helps with fire, so it puts out fire when it's on you, and then it also gives you like some resistance to fire damage, so pyros are going to be way weaker against you. Generally, pyros are extremely obnoxious, especially with the scorch shot because of aim punch. So that's kind of the use case for this, is that you have an extremely obnoxious pyro that you want to bypass. Generally, you'd be better off just swapping classes. Like heavy is very good for countering pyro because he just does way more damage at close range and he can just guard corners until he finds the pyro. Or what you can do, you could swap to the Cozy Camper, which is basically the better version of this. What the Cozy Camper does is, I'm just going to put it in B tier because it's still not a super good item. The Cozy Camper, what it does is when you're at 100% charge, you don't take any any damage flinching. So if you get hit, it won't flinch at all, which is very useful when you're on fire and you're trying to get that last shot off to kill an enemy that's approaching you or things like that. It also gives you a little passive healing like how Medic has, except a little bit worse. It goes between 1 and 4 healing depending on how long you've been out of combat. So once you've gotten lit on fire, you're less likely to die from it, and then you'll actually heal back up to full passively over time just by wearing this thing. So chip damage won't kill you when you use this, so it's very nice for casual play. This is my preferred secondary item when I'm playing casual, just because generally there aren't many medic, and generally you get hit by a lot of crap damage, so it's very helpful. But with that said, it's still not a super strong item, just because if you have a team that's actually competent, these aren't really things that you need to worry about. SMG just goes to A tier. SMG is great for finding spies, killing enemies that get close, and a whole bunch of other things. It's really just a great generalist secondary weapon, and it's very useful. You don't really need a team for it to be useful, and generally it's just that item there to kill enemies at a more mid-range. I will say it also is more useful in competitive play because random crits are disabled. Generally, if an enemy gets close to you in casual play, you're better off just whacking them and hoping for a random crit with your melee, but in competitive, that's really not the case. You'd usually be better off if you aimed well with the SMG. Razorback, straight to F tier. So the Razorback, what it does is it makes it so a spy can't backstab you. He could just shoot you with his revolver and you'd still die a horrible death, and really it doesn't matter at all, except it save you like for a second or so. So that might have been helpful. In the past, this weapon actually used to be extremely good, but its downside is that you can't get overhealed while wearing it, which is a huge issue, because what they can do then is, instead of going spy to counter you, right? All they got to do is go sniper to counter you, get their medic to overheal them to that 185 HP, and then they can survive a headshot in a sniper duel, and you cannot, so you're probably going to get owned. Cleaner's Carbine, F tier. Cleaner's Carbine, so basically it's a worse SMG, it does less damage, and after you shoot enough enemies with it, you'll have charged up your meter, and then you can use that, and you get like, I think it's 8 seconds of mini crit. Mini crits are not useful on sniper, because like I said before, the random crits on your melee are very common, 60% if you've done enough damage, and you can get guaranteed crit on your sniper rifle. So generally, this is just a very bad weapon, would not recommend using it. There's going to be someone in the comments talking about how this is useful with the Bushwacker. They're wrong. That's all I can say. Kukurai, so just stock. This is one of the best melees. We're going to put it right up in A tier. It's just very generally good. Tribalman Shiv. Okay, so this is one that really, it has very different placements if you're playing competitive versus if you're playing casual. If you're playing casual, right down to F tier, because it actually deals less DPS due to random crits. So it's just a really weak weapon, and you also won't insta-kill as many enemies because the random crits just don't do as much damage, so you're gonna die more often. Horrible weapon in non-competitive play. If you're playing competitive, especially if you're playing Highlander, you could probably put it up to A tier because it is good for tracking down spies, and you don't have random crits anyways, so it's good to get a hit off in there and then being able to track down the enemy spy, so it's useful for that, whereas your melee weapon is basically useless and competitive otherwise. We're just going to leave it at the casual placement here, but just understand, two very different placements for that depending on random crits. Bushwacker, oh boy, F tier. F tier on Bushwacker. So this weapon is horrendously bad because it encourages you to run at the enemy. You have mini crit. So with that encouragement, basically what you'll do is you'll put on the Cleaner's Carbine or the Jarate, and you'll use it, so you'll be showing that you have mini crits, and the enemy will be able to see that, or the enemy will be able to see that they're doused in Jarate, and they'll know to run away from you when you hold this weapon out. This weapon also gives you damage vulnerability, if I remember correctly, and then also no random crit, which is extremely important in casual play. And then, like I said before, you basically can't get in on an enemy in competitive play if you're actually decent with your melee weapon. It's just not going to happen, except for maybe a spy. And if it's a spy, you're not going to have enough time to throw a Jarate on them or build up a Cleaner's Carbine to use before you attack them with it, because they're too good for that. They'd kill you with a revolver before you get through the weapon. So very bad weapon. I hate it. Extremely bad, and I see a lot of players using it. Don't do that. Very bad weapon. Shahanshah. This goes right up to S tier. So basically, what this does is it makes it so that your damage is higher when your health is below 50%. Extremely, extremely good weapon, because it makes it so that certain enemies will die faster. When you get a random crit, certain enemies will just die instantly. So like a soldier normally would not die instantly to a random crit because it only deals 195 damage. This deals like 240 something with a random crit. And then in competitive, it's also extremely good just as a generalist weapon. And then you kind of compare that with the Tribalman shiv depending on what circumstance you're going for. But basically, all the time, you're going to be at below 50% health when you are fighting an enemy with your melee as sniper. Either a spy will be shooting you with a revolver, maybe a soldier jumped you and you're just trying to get one last hit in. So basically, it's just an extremely good melee weapon. I would highly recommend it. I still use stock because there are certain situations in casual play where you'll run into, say, a spy that tries to uncloak right behind you and you can hear it very clearly and you just turn around and whack them. And it's just way easier to kill them with the full damage from the stock. Otherwise, it might take 3 hits if I don't get any random crit. And whereas with normal, it would only take 2 hits. So in that situation, the stock is better. But normally Shahanshah is an extremely good weapon, especially against players who are competent. And that is it for the sniper weapon tier list. Let me know what you think about this tier list. Let me know if you think anything should be in a different position for whatever reason in the comments. Like and subscribe for more. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs here. I'm almost there, so just help me out.